Fravel. He is with Decentraland, and I'm very honored that we got him here. He's working on a really amazing project. When I first heard about it, it blew my mind. The future is here. That's all I got to really say about it. I'm really excited that he's going to be able to come and share some of the different technologies that are happening on the blockchain right now, especially with virtual reality. And to give you a little information on him, he has 30 plus years of technical and technology management experience in both software and hardware. He has sharply honed skills implementing effective structure within other creative teams. He has experience with early stage high-tech company executives, experience setting the vision, strategy, business plans, funding, staffing, product management, architecture, R&D, operations, marketing, product launches, board, and he's been on several board of directors. He has received angel and VC funding, successfully closed with capitalization, and has a ton of experience in investor relations. His absolute resume is just extensive and keeps going, but without further ado, we have Fravel with Decentraland.
Thank you. My day job is actually here in Canal Barge Company in New Orleans, where I run the IT department, and we move barges and boats on the rivers and inland waterways. Very physical business, but this, what I'm going to talk about today, is a digital world. So I have a consulting company called Applied Talent LLC. I've done projects here in New Orleans, and about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I got involved in a few cryptocurrency projects. Was an ICO investor in some before it was got complicated, and also have got involved in some of them, in particular Decentraland, very actively involved in that in my spare time. And they actually asked me to be an advisor to the company because I'd had a lot of experience in virtual worlds before. So I have an interesting and kind of unique relationship with the company. Maybe before I start on the slides, how many people here have ever had an account in Second Life? All right. How many people have used VR chat? How many people have heard of Sansar? So we are at the very beginning of something, right? These are actually pretty major things that are going on in the world, but they're kind of obscure and not well known yet. And for the most part, virtual realities and virtual worlds have not been associated with blockchain, and that is now changing. So it's one of the reasons why this is an interesting space is because virtual realities allow you to do something like, let me put this conference center up this week. Oh, next week I want it to be an amusement park. Let me take down the conference center and use the space for an amusement park. Try to imagine doing that in the real world. Or, matters of governance and experimentation with that. For example, we know that there's like three protagonists in society that bring about the interactions you see. There's individuals who are the ones that really take initiative. There's institutions, which right now are maybe a little overbalanced in our governance, and there are communities. Communities are people who have like interests. They're doing something together as individuals together. And all three of those things are in a state of flux. People are becoming more capacitated, as our first speaker spoke about. Institutions are kind of losing their footing and are going to have to change. And new communities are developing, and virtual realities are a place where some of those communities are coming together. I just want to, before we go a little bit into it, since I did see a single hand raised for any of my questions, let's talk about a few of these terms. A virtual world. It's a place where you can go, you have experience of going there, and being immersed in a place with other people doing things, kind of like the real world, except virtual. You meet people, you undertake projects, you have some entertainment, you learn something, you earn some money. All those things are possible in virtual worlds. Second Life's been around for 15 years now. About 1 million people have created accounts in there. All of the content in Second Life is made by the users. That creates a commerce that allows the users to pull out about $50 million a year in income. So I want to talk a little bit about human experience in physical and virtual worlds. We store memories of our experience the same way, whether it's a physical experience or a dream or a book or a movie or a story we've been told or a virtual world. We store them in the same way. I have some really great personal memories from each of those things, right? Including from virtual worlds. My wife and I have been married for 38 years. We wanted to renew our wedding vows. So we held a wedding ceremony in Second Life a couple years ago. We had friends come, we had family from all over the world come. My manager at Canal Barge came. It was his first experience in a virtual world. So, and we have pretty good memories of that. We were young and beautiful.
How many people are still in Second Life?
At any given time, there's around 30 to 50,000 people online. There are about 1 million accounts. Pardon?
Total subscribers?
Yeah, total subscribers, 800,000 to 1 million, yeah. There's some duplicate accounts in there, so the stats are a little hard to know for sure. But when you log on, you see how many people are logged on. It's usually above 30,000. It's worldwide, so it's pretty. 54.
At any given point, the max is...
No, I don't know. Over 15 years, no. But probably in the 50 to 100,000 range at any given time. There are larger MMOs. But let's talk also a bit about a virtual world is not a game. It uses some of the same technologies as games use. You know, the combat games or the first-person shooter games. The kind of the experience on the computer is somewhat similar, but there's not an objective like there is in a game. A game has a canned objective. You're trying to accomplish what the game is channeling you to do. A virtual world is as flexible and open as this world. And in some ways more so because you can try an experiment, you can say, oh no, that didn't work, and more easily try something different. It's more changeable. What's the difference between a virtual world and virtual reality? It's an overlap. Sometimes people get kind of attached to the idea that virtual reality means that you have a 3D headset on, so you can see binaural distance and you're totally immersed in it. And believe me, if you haven't experienced, how many people here have put on a 3D headset and experienced that immersive experience? Okay, so that's pretty good. Yeah, it's very compelling. Has anybody ever worn one for more than an hour? Did you ever get motion sick?
Very disturbed. Yeah, you just, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know what's up or down when you take the headset off.
Yeah. So most virtual reality experiences, nevertheless, are experienced by their developers and users a lot of the time just on the PC screen. So the distinction is a little bit arbitrary. Some virtual worlds do not support head-mounted displays. They don't run fast enough, the frame rate. And Second Life is an example of that, which is why Linden Labs made a new platform called Sansar that is very high-end, very beautiful. Head-mounted displays, sometimes called headsets, or Oculus Rift, Samsung Gear VR, Oculus Go. Some of them require a cable running, or a set of cables running off to your PC where the graphics card is. The high-end ones have been that way. The low-end ones, you literally go down to Walmart and spend $20 and you get a plastic headset and you put your phone in it. And some phones will support that. So there's everything in between, but the high-end ones up until now have required tethering. And 3 degrees of freedom means that the headset has gyroscopes in it, or your phone, and it can tell when you do this, or this, or this. And so you look around and you see things. But 3 degree of freedom headsets can't tell you did that. Can't tell that you did. Can't warn you that you're about to step into something. 6 degree of freedom headsets also know your location in space. And they do that one of 2 ways. They either have some equipment that watches where your headset is in the space, which means a limited space, usually about 15, 20 feet. Or they have what's called inside out, that's outside in. Inside out technology, which watches your space around you and can tell that you've moved your head because the image in those little cameras moves. It's called inside out. And Oculus is next month, May 1st, something, releasing the Oculus Quest, which uses inside out technology and has no cabling. It's very nice. So we're kind of crossing that threshold of practicality and cost. That thing's going to be $399. And imagine somebody will figure out how to put it on sale. And it's completely self-contained. You don't need to have a computer to use it. Augmented reality. Anybody here ever played Pokemon Go or have a family member that has? Huh?
Ingress count?
So you hold your cell phone up and you see a Pokemon creature in the street ahead of you. And in fact, you can switch into mode where the front camera actually sees the street and puts the Pokemon character in that picture of the street. You can walk up to it and you can capture it. Augmented reality says you're seeing the real world, but enhanced on that are ads or creatures or things that aren't there in the physical space. Or informational pop-ups about things. Has anybody seen the video of the AR gone wrong on YouTube? This woman is trying to walk through town and her AR is messing up. It thinks it's the wrong person, and she was very funny. Anyway, so AR is going to be interesting because it can tell where you are and it can offer you information or things that aren't visible in the real world. Another thing that's worth noting for the virtual reality convergence with blockchain is non-fungible tokens. Most of the cryptocurrencies you know about, like Bitcoin or Ethereum, are fungible. If I give you a Bitcoin and you give me back a Bitcoin, it's like dollars. I don't really check the serial number on it. I don't care which dollar it was I gave you and you gave me back. They're interchangeable. Non-fungible tokens are unique. They have properties that are unique to that token. Kind of like a serial number on a dollar bill, but more interesting than that. They could be the properties of CryptoKitty. They could be a piece of land with certain coordinates in a virtual space. They can represent a physical asset, like an art painting. So lots of things in the physical world are being tokenized with NFTs, and virtual reality is starting to use it quite a bit. So the current reality of virtual realities is that it's still pretty nascent, in that the technologies they're not really at the fully consumer level. They're getting there quickly. The adopters are kind of transitioning from early adopters in the marketing curve to thought leaders. And the cost of VR has been pretty high. If you wanted to have a good experience, you went and bought a $2,000 computer and a $600 headset. And now it's coming down to the point where maybe you can buy an Oculus Quest for $400. So it's starting to get commoditized. Motion sickness is a reality. Most headsets say, please don't wear it for more than half an hour. Some people are more prone to motion sickness than others. Unfortunately, women are more prone to it than men. You seem to get a little less prone to it as you get older, I think. I have a theory that that's because your equilibrium starts not working so well anyway, and so your brain, no, I'm serious, the brain doesn't work so hard to try to correlate the eyes with the ears. If you're wearing a headset and you turn your head, you want that image to go like this immediately, right? And if it goes like this, I'm serious, you get motion sick pretty quick. So the performance of the headsets and the go ahead.
They make some now, they're researching it or whatever, to where they track your eyes, and if you look that way with just your eyes, not your head, will that help out with the motion sickness?
If it does a good job, but if it doesn't do a good job, no, it's probably just as bad, yes. The question is eye tracking. Eye tracking is interesting for another reason, is because you can look at something and it's like selecting it. There's actually some headsets now where they're experimenting with increasing the pixel resolution where you're looking, like your eyes do. There's some other things that they're experimenting with to reduce motion sickness. And I don't know technically exactly what it is because I think they're not talking about it, the manufacturers, but there's claims that there's some performances in that area. So that will get better, and there's a bit of a learning curve on how to be comfortable when you're wearing a headset. But really, realistically, most people that are doing a lot of work with VR are looking at the PC screen almost all the time, if they're doing development or lots of work. The other thing is that it's kind of hard to show it and tell it to other people. If you haven't seen it, you haven't experienced it, it's just kind of hard to describe. It's hard to describe the fact that you can have a real experience in a place that isn't physical. So here is an example of an attempt to show you virtual reality. It's an aspirational picture. It's not realistic. Can you tell me what it is that's not realistic about it? There's several things.
Sure. The touch. You can't touch that.
Yeah, what is he touching?
He's only using 3-point reference if he's got the device on his head, so he can't be using 6-point orientation.
Yeah.
So he's touching air.
Yeah.
The space in front of him.
Yeah. What else?
That's a discoin NFT, right?
Pardon?
A discoin NFT that he's reaching out at?
Well, first of all, he has an opaque thing over his eyes, so how is he going to be able to see this thing that we're seeing? We're seeing a representation of what he is supposedly seeing in his headset, but in which case we wouldn't see it out here, right? This is an aspirational picture, and it's an attempt to give you an idea of what might be an experience, and it's hard to do. Another thing is that almost all ability to touch and do things requires handheld controllers that have gyroscopes in them, or they have a sensor maybe to. Now, Leap Motion is doing some work with being able to tell what you're doing with your hands, but it's not quite that accurate yet. I love this picture. It's very inspirational. I've used it in talks before. I have it on a Medium slide deck I have. But where is she? Is she out of doors, wearing an untethered headset, and about to step on who knows what that she can't see down below? Or off the edge of, or is that supposed to be the virtual sky, which could look like that, right? In which case we wouldn't be seeing it. And what's she doing? It's beautiful and I like it. Is she meditating? If so, why does she have a 2-pound thing on her face? Why don't she just shut her eyes, right? I love this picture, but it's one of those aspirational. I'm trying to tell you that this is interesting and beautiful, right? Because it is. Tell me about this picture. What's going on here?
Looks like gaming. Virtual reality gaming.
It could be a gaming parlor, but more likely it's a group of people that are building a virtual reality. All right, it's a development team. That's how I read the picture. It could be someplace where there's a demo going on. It could be either one. I see a tether in this picture for the first time. The high-end ones are tethered to the PC where the graphics card is. Somehow she knows how to touch type. This is actually a problem because once you put the headset on, you don't see your keyboard. You're like, where's my mouse, right? It's really, some of the Acer, for example, has a Windows mixed media one where the front tips up. It's kind of nice. Otherwise, you have to take it off your head to find your way around. So it's still kind of like, maybe she really shouldn't be using computers. She should be using controls in the world to do her work, right? And that's emerging too as a capability. How many people are wearing headsets here and how many people are not? Half the people here at least probably are not wearing headsets, right? That's the reality, is that when you're doing this kind of work, for the most part, you're usually not wearing a headset. You're looking at a screen, you're doing development work, you're writing code, whatever. This is a real thing. This is crypto cars. You can buy a unique to yourself virtual racing car from Crypto Cars, and you can get one of these chairs with a steering wheel and pedals and a gear shift. Looks like you may also have some shooting devices, I'm not sure. Anyway, so very immersive car racing. That's a very realistic picture. Anybody recognize this scene? How many people here have seen Ready Player One? Okay, this is H's garage, right? The big robot that H is working on. Oh, no, actually it's not. This is a scene from Sansar where somebody recreated that scene in a 3D virtual reality. And I went and took a little video tour of there. reference to Spaceballs and to Battlestar Galactica down there on the end, the fighter ship. So there's some creativity. I think that the original makers of the movie made a scene very much like this, probably in Unity or something, but this was done in Sansar. Augmented reality. This is a flash mob in Tokyo. I believe it's Tokyo. All excited about the fact that there's a new Pokemon, or some new Pokemon have been made available here in the city in a certain place, and you can go get them if you want. They're kind of rare and special. And so here's an AR flash mob. So AR is a real thing too. So, okay, so how do virtual realities use blockchain? A virtual world can have land. You can actually have land that you can buy and own, and the deed can be recorded on the blockchain, and that land is yours permanently. Does not depend on that company staying in business, because the technologies to visit and use your land are decentralized, and the company could fail or turn off its servers or decide they wanted to go to the Bahamas and spend the money they earn on their business, but you still own your land. And you can sell it to somebody else. In addition to land transactions, you can also rent your land, or you can get royalties on something you've made, or you can sell things and create a marketplace. Blockchain is also used to identify you. If you want to do something, whose land is it? It's yours. How do you identify yourself? Typically with MetaMask, some sort of Ethereum token. And maybe you want to issue tickets to admission to something. You can give them a token, and only if they have that token in a wallet can they enter that space. And then NFTs are interesting because your inventory could be full of things that allow you to build the identity you want. Your avatar, your hair, your clothing, your house, your toys, your pets, your games, your weapons. And those things can be represented in your inventory wallet as non-fungible tokens. And they can have not only a 2D representation like CryptoKitties have. Who here has heard of CryptoKitties? Okay, they were a big. So if you own a CryptoKitty, it's unique. It's different than other people's CryptoKitties. It has a 2D picture that represents the cat, and its color and eyes and things are unique to that cat, and you have a non-fungible token in your wallet that owns that cat. However, what does that look like in a 3D world? There are some non-fungible token collectibles now that are 3D virtual reality represented. You can take them in with you into a virtual world. So let's talk about two particular virtual worlds that use the blockchain. One is Decentraland, and the other is CryptoVoxels. Footnote disclaimer, I own land in both of these places. So it's not a promotion, but I can speak from experience. They have land deeds. You buy land, you go to a marketplace and you spend Ethereum, or in the case of Ethers, or in the case of Decentraland, its own coin called Mana, and you buy a land or some tract of land, and it's yours. And all these things are done in the world are done with blockchain. Any questions about that?
Decentraland, they have like a set amount of tokens for the land?
Yes. Yeah, they issued a fixed amount of tokens. They are convertible to land. There will be a fixed amount of land. They sold $25 million in Mana in about 1.5 Ethereum blocks, about 30 seconds in 2017. It was sold out before most people could participate. They created 90,000 tokens, NFTs, for the land parcels. It's 3 kilometers by 3 kilometers, 10 meters by 10 meters. They just decided to expand it to 16 by 16. Same number of lands, just a little bit more space per land. There were land auctions in 2017 and 2018, and now pretty much all the land has been sold. They burnt the mana that was used to purchase it. That means that those coins don't exist anymore. the only ones that haven't been used to buy land. So it's very counter-inflationary. But what's interesting is they also decided, in order to create buzz around this, they invited people to define themed districts in the world. And about 50 of them were proposed, and they enabled those people to have a presence during their land auction to say, if you want, you can contribute mana or land towards these districts. And the largest of the districts got 10,005 lands contributed to it. It's huge. Some of them are small. And everything in between in terms of what the themes are, the economics, the community, the governance, the institutions, the individual initiative, all those things are experiments now in almost 40 districts that have survived to this point. I sponsored one of the districts, a conference center. We're building a virtual conference center in Decentraland. It's huge. It'd be like the second or third largest conference center in the world in terms of space. Decentraland has created a partnership with a number of blockchain-oriented games to have the games be playable in the world. Crypto Beasties is kind of like Crypto Kitties, but it also has the 3D representation. I'll show you that to you in a moment. Chainbreakers 2 is a quest, kind of medieval quest game. Ethereum is an attempt to do something similar to Pokemon, but on the Ethereum blockchain. They have several ways you can make your world, make your place. One is they have a simple builder. You just kind of drag and drop some existing content into your scene and you have it. But they also have a software development kit, which allows you to write scripting and animations and more complicated things. That calls out to REST services, for example.
I have a question.
Yes.
How do people actually, I mean, I know generally how the tokens work, but in this area, like 25 million, how does that get, transferred between people?
Well, it was a pretty standard ICO. Okay. They actually excluded Singaporeans and US citizens. So I didn't participate in their ICO. I bought some land ahead of time in the white sale, and I got a contract with them for advising, and so I was able to buy some land with those proceeds. But the way the ICO works is like any other ICO, which is you find out about it, you find out an address to send value to, usually with Bitcoin or Ethereum, Ethers, and if you do it within a window and you're successful, then you end up with some of their tokens.
But is it like land here has a specific location?
Yes, I'll show it to you. I will show it to you.
You do that then?
Yes.
Okay.
The world is now open by invitation to alpha testers. So they've had a hackathon, and they are on the 18th opening up a public builder contest. And if you win, they have quite a number of prizes. You can win land. So here is a map of a portion of Decentraland. Includes the central plaza of the city. This is actually an image from their marketplace where you can go buy land. It's at decentraland.org. And the green squares here are community plazas, open like parks. The gray roads are roads. The dark gray is privately held land that's not for sale. The light blue is land that's for sale in the marketplace. You can go buy it. You do that by putting some, going and obtaining some mana in one of the exchanges, and then going on here with your MetaMask wallet and buying the land. Here is another page from their market where you can see this 9-parcel estate there. There's 1,100 parcels for sale right now in 366 estates. This was a few days ago. And that 3x3 is going for 190,000 mana. Mana is about 4 to 5 cents. So that's some real money. The value of the land depends kind of how big it is and where it is in the world. It's like location matters, right? Here's a map of Decentraland's central piece of land that they started with called Genesis City after the first auction and the formation of the districts. So this would have been last December. No, December of 17, sorry. The white squares are the plazas that are open, and the pale yellow is the land that had not sold yet as of the end of the second auction. The purple areas are the districts. The conference center is just northeast of the Upper Plaza there. Vegas City, second largest district, is an attempt to create an adult entertainment area. That's the Etheria district, AETHERIA, is a cyberpunk district, and that's the largest one. It got 10,005 land contributions. It's huge. And it was founded by a child. He was 14 at the time. He just turned 16. This is kind of a secret because he's kind of embarrassed about the possibility that this much value is being associated with a minor. But this happens. There were more than one district in here that were proposed and created by children. Fortunately, they all have adults helping them. The colorful little areas are privately held land after the first auction, and somebody cleverly figured out that the last 6 digits of the owner's wallet address could be used as a color code and build a map out that way. Decentraland made a decision that they wanted to make it available on very low-end gear. In other words, web browsers in a phone in a cheap headset. So they went with what's called a low poly look. This tree here doesn't have 10,000 leaves. It has maybe a couple hundred triangular polygons. This is a little video clip of that space.
Here we are in the central plaza of Decentraland. It's right in the middle of Genesis City, and it is a scene constructed from low poly art. And you can see that things are slightly animated in many ways. The trees bend in the wind a little bit. They can walk around. You can go up into the castle here. Oh my goodness, we have a dragon. And, I see there's a sword in the stone here. But I seem not to be Arthur. So, anyway, there's a brief tour of a little bit of Decentraland.
However, this low poly look, it looks a little bit like a toy, but it's because the surfaces haven't had texture maps put on them, which can be done in a low poly environment. And I want to show you another scene from Decentraland. This is the prototype of the conference center I'm building. And now you have real bricks, and you have trees, and you have there's a cafe, music venue. Somebody can give a talk or get up on stage and play music here. There's a patio out there. We have furniture we can put out. We have a replica of the Lotus Temple, Baha'i Temple in New Delhi, India. Just as a meeting place, a safe place to go and think or talk. And we have an amphitheater that's quite large. It's like 70 meters by 90 meters. And it's sort of a mixture of a Greek amphitheater with a kind of a Celtic look. You see patterns in the stones. It's a big space. You could use it for a party or a talk or a play. You can see you can get pretty good looking reality even in a low cost, low poly environment if you put nice textures on the surfaces. Those trees are pretty good. Very different than the trees in the other scene. There's birds. There's even a bird flying around here. So you get the idea. This is a sparse start to a prototype, but the idea is that this could be a nice space to have a conference in, and you don't have to pay a plane ticket or get a motel room. You just log into your computer and have a meeting with others from anywhere in the world. One other virtual world using blockchain I'll mention is they did not use an ICO or a big funding model. They're bootstrapping it, and they're using voxel building technology like Minecraft. So you build stuff by putting blocks around, different kinds of blocks. They do have support for external voxel tools and a marketplace for buying and selling parcels also. That's what it looks like.
This is the virtual world known as crypto voxels. We'll do a brief walkthrough of a small part of it. Just kind of run down here and see some things. There's some color here. As you can see, it's built out of blocks, rather like Minecraft. And there's some interesting and beautiful stuff being built here. You get the idea? It's a lovely place.
The land in here is owned by individuals. The person that made this is gradually making more land available for people to buy, and is creating kind of districts and neighborhoods as it builds out. And lest anybody think there's only a couple of them, here's another dozen. Virtual reality or augmented reality businesses are starting up, some of them aren't startups, that have some sort of use of blockchain. High Fidelity is a virtual reality that's been around for quite a few years. It was actually founded by the same gentleman that founded Second Life. He went on to make High Fidelity. Unity is probably the premier 3D modeling environment maker for games and movies and stuff. Very high end. There's a company that is integrating a blockchain technology with them. VibeHub is a place that hosts live events and experiences in AR and VR. Versus is interesting. They're actually selling land in the real world. Tokenized real world land that you then can have an AR or VR experience in that location. It'd be kind of interesting if they sold the rights to your land. What would you feel about that? It's kind of like Pokemon putting stores or whatever they are on somebody's land with or without permission. Crypto cars. There's other ones that are doing things like using virtual reality to teach or do scientific research. Matrix is creating kind of an economic model for doing STEM research using VR. So a little bit more about NFTs. Does anybody here own any NFTs in their wallets? Okay, so there's a little bit of adoption starting. NFTs can represent land or accessories, collectibles, pets, hair, your avatar, your car, your house. Somebody could make one and sell it to you by selling you the NFT, and that NFT would then allow you to put the object in world. Where do you buy and sell NFTs? Well, some of the virtual realities are starting to do things like creating vending machines. You can just actually buy something right there in the space. But the best known NFT marketplace is OpenSea. And a few of the things you can buy, there's I don't know, there's pages of this now. CryptoKitties is pretty famous. I think these are the top ones here on the largest collections. Decentraland is there because of the land. Now, some of them most of them have some sort of 2D representation or there's some sort of existence. Decentraland, you're actually getting a piece of land somewhere. You can see it on their map, but you can go there too. But CryptoBeasties is one of a couple of them that have a 2D representation that looks like a playing card, but they also have a does it work? Yes. As you pick different ones, and if you like a particular one, you can say, oh, what would that look like in 3D with animation? And you can actually display that Fire Witch in your land if you want. Similarly, another one, tokenized quest objects for a quest game called Chainbreakers. You could buy a battle axe or something like that. And then this is an early preview of it, not in Decentraland, but in a similar technology. You can see 3D representations of the quest objects laying around on shelves and tables. So if you own one of these, you own an NFT, and that means you can bring it into the world and display it in your space, use it for a quest. So kind of wrap up here with what lies ahead for this stuff. I can say it's kind of at the threshold of adoption. One of the issues is the cost of the VR hardware for the individual user, but that's coming down now to where this spring you'll be able to get a really nice headset untethered for $400. You can go into Walmart now and see a whole display case of the ones you can put your phones in. So they're trying to get into the market really early at the low end. It's expected this could be pretty widespread in the early 2020s. And some of them, such as Decentraland CryptoVoxels, you can just use a web browser on your phone or on your PC. You don't need to get any kind of equipment other than just a basic computer. Motion sickness has to be overcome. It has to be overcome by higher performance in the headset. And people understanding how to avoid getting motion sick. I've learned, for example, if I turn my head, if I want to spend more time, if I turn my head, I just blink while I'm turning my head, because then by the time I open my eyes, there's things like that. You learn how to be in the world longer without getting. But after a while, you just want to take it off and just look at the screen. And if you're really doing kind of development work and working with code and script and stuff, you're going to be working on the screen. You're probably not going to be in the headset business, but here are some other challenges that you might participate in solving. Crypto transactions are complicated for the consumer. People who have never bought a cryptocurrency, they have quite a hurdle to go through. You have to go to Coinbase or something like it, put in your credit card and your KYC and AML information, wait for it to get approved. Most banks are clamping down on use of credit cards for buying crypto, so you have to use a debit card or a bank account, and you go in, you buy some Bitcoin or Ethereum. And then you have to get the right cryptocurrency for the world, like in the case of Decentraland Mana, so you have to go to an exchange and do an exchange. Coinbase Pro, Coinbase CEO is the primary investor in Coinbase, is also a major investor in Decentraland. So in Coinbase Pro, you can actually get Mana for Decentraland. But anyway, it's complicated. And then when you're in the virtual world, you have to have a wallet on your browser to use to identify yourself and to buy things. So solutions that will make it possible for people to go into the world without any of that and say, I like that, I want to go to that party, I want to rent a space, can just do it with low friction. That's an area that needs work. Content development. These lands are large. These places are, just like, content is king on the internet too. It's going to be king here. Decentraland University is another district. It's creating a VR academy to teach people how to do that in VR. There's lots of YouTube videos popping up now about how to make things for these worlds. And then, and there's teams and companies forming to build virtual reality experiences. So that's a wide open space. And then the other thing is that right now all the virtual realities are islands unto themselves. But that's not kind of what we want. What we want is you want to be able to go from one place to another. It's like you can't anywhere else. So building standardization, building portals and teleport methods between the different worlds, that's a pretty wide open space. There's a couple of organizations, a commercial company called Janus VR. It's an open source platform with services. And the Virtual Reality Blockchain Alliance. Several of those vendors from the previous slide are in that alliance working on that stuff together. So that's kind of the state of it. And we have time for a few questions. Yeah. Or discussion? Go ahead.
So, you know how internet cafes used to be a thing like 10, 15 years ago? Going back to things like Decentraland, do you think there's a market for tourism where there might be VR spaces that you can rent, let's say 8 hours, and then go to some of these locations?
Yes, there's a district in, the question is can you imagine that there would be places in a virtual world where you can go to rent time and space to do something, right?
Not even that, but like let's say I don't have a headset at home, but I want to do that. So could I go to a space that will let me rent a VR headset and then go experience it?
Yeah, I think there are a small number of like VR cafes today, experimentally. It may be a business opportunity, but as they become so inexpensive that, you know, you have a cell phone and you have a VR headset, maybe not. Maybe the real opportunity is in the world to build an interesting venue, a dance venue or a music hall or a club or something like that, where people can go no matter where they are. One of the things that's interesting about virtual realities is how many people that are involved in it are disabled in the physical world. They're either elderly, they have Parkinson's disease, they have severe social anxiety disorder, they're wheelchair bound for various reasons, and you meet them in the virtual world and you don't know that because they dance and they talk and they pick the avatar they want for how they want to present themselves in the world. Allows a lot of identity experimentation and having experiences. I know a woman who has Parkinson's disease. Her daughter decided to create a space in Second Life because she used to be a singer and a dancer in New York. So she created this beautiful place in Second Life called Creations Park that is a fundraiser for Parkinson's disease, and her mother can go there and sing in the music venue club and dance in the dance venues, and her Parkinson's symptoms in the real world have declined.
You're talking about they can't travel from island to island yet. So, if you wanted to see like a friend that was at another island, you can't.
Yeah, let me clarify. When I said that the worlds are kind of isolated islands, I mean, it's not isolated within a world, but isolated to that world. So if you're in Second Life, you can't jump over to Sansar, you can't jump over to Decentraland. That needs to happen. It will happen, I'm sure. Yes, you absolutely can travel around. You can teleport, you can fly, you can run, you can get a motorcycle, sailboat. I have all those things. It works.
Instead of 16 kilometers, is that like if you walk at a pace of, 6 miles an hour?
No, I'm 16 meters by 16 meters is the size of a land parcel. That city is, well, it was 3 kilometers wide before they made it, so it's now, 4.6.
Is like the physics of it equal to that? Like, is it to scale?
Yes. Yeah, your avatars walk. They walk kind of fast. Fortunately, while you're building, you probably want to get around quickly, but I think they'll slow it down later. There was a question over here.
Is there any turkeys on that land?
Any what?
Turkeys?
If you wanted to do a turkey shoot, you could make one. Yeah, absolutely.
So are people building things to be able to sell to people in the world? Like, can you rent out your car?
Yes, absolutely. I gave the example of Second Life, which is not blockchain based, but it has an economy, it has a marketplace. You can buy things in stores in world, or you can go to a website and buy them, and then you have them in world. And the makers of objects and the renters of land collectively took $50 million out in 2015 from Second Life economic activity.
So you can have a whole economy going on inside of the virtual world.
Yes, you do.
You can
Yep.
have another job in the virtual
There are people who actually work in stores and earn money that way. Uh-huh. The biggest money makers are land rental and things you make that people use to build an identity. Avatars, clothing, hair.
So what it seems like is, because most, if you follow any kind of gaming, this is basically in-game currency, except you can extrapolate the value out through the blockchain. Because most in-game currencies, it's a one-way ticket. You
Yes.
put money in, you buy your product. So for example, something like Warframe,
Yeah.
right? You can go in, you can do quests, you can sell items on the exchange for the in-game currency that represents real dollars, but you can't pull the money out.
Yeah, that's right. It's not fungible with dollars. You can't extract it. A lot of the games have some sort of in-world economy that you can put dollars in, but then the value stays in that world.
So do you see the game developers really pointing the market when it comes down to these spaces, these virtual world spaces, because they already have the inset infrastructure in order to create it? You see what I'm saying? They have the talent, they have kind of the systems at place to create the world.
I think that,
It's the same thing.
you're talking about kind of leaders, early starters getting a really major foothold in these spaces.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that people that make things like vending machines or the technology to make a marketplace or a store, that's one layer of that economy. People who have interesting content to sell, that's another layer. Somebody that knows how to make hair, beautiful hair, can probably make quite a bit of money. They do in Second Life. Those two main things, and advertising income. All those things will exist and are starting to exist in virtual realities. Did I answer your question?
I'm just
Ask
saying
more.
that, well, it's what's being augmented, what's being sold is already existing. It's a video game, right? But it's taken to a new height, right? And so if you already have companies like the Nintendos, the EA Sports, who already have the infrastructure to build worlds, right?
Yes.
And do large, MMOs,
Yeah.
so to speak. They really could, because if you look at the gaming industry, it is moving towards all of the games having their own economies, having their own coins, right? The only thing is, with the blockchain, it has a particular technology behind it that allows you to extrapolate value on it.
Right.
Right.
Yes. I am sure that those companies will try this space, but it's not probably as interesting to them as a one-way ticket in terms of money making for them. So I think virtual worlds would be more democratic, more people going there to do something, maybe make money, but they can extract the money and spend it on something else too. So we'll see how it plays out.
Will these virtual worlds ever get so real that people can age and do that kind of stuff in the virtual world?
Say again?
Will they ever be so realistic that people's avatars actually age?
Well, avatars age in. So when I first put my avatar together in Second Life, I tried to make it look kind of like me, which I tell you that didn't work out real well. But I finally found one that was taller and a little more handsome and mature, right? And my wife got this really beautiful young avatar, one of the most gorgeous avatars I've seen in Second Life. And she said, your avatar looks kind of old. Why don't we make you younger? So over a period of a year or so, I kind of kept changing it at her request. So I have a fairly young, tall avatar in Second Life.
So people will never age or get hurt or anything like that?
Yeah. In most virtual worlds, you have to give permission to another player or another situation to do anything to you. And unless you've done that, maybe they come stand next to you, they can bump into you, but they can't make you bleed or hurt, right? They can hurt your feelings. Oh my goodness. This is real experience, right? You can have a nightmare. You also have, a utopian dream. So.
Can't come in and rob you for your land or something.
I'm sorry?
Someone can't come in and rob you for your land.
No, there's trolling and griefing, and so I'm serious. Most of the worlds have developed mechanisms by which the landowner can eject a troublemaker. So these are all real things. One last question.
So, everyone's talking about being in the virtual world. I'm pretty sure there's also real world businesses like a grocery store or a car dealership. You can go in there, buy the thing you want in the real world in the virtual world, and then they actually deliver it to your house.
Yes. Thank you very much. There's a business model where you could use a place in virtual reality as a showroom to go and look, try on, try out, write in, whatever it is you might be wanting to buy, and say, that one doesn't feel right when I'm in it, right? It's not just a picture in a magazine. I'm actually in the car. I'm trying out the dynamics of driving it. This is the one I want, right? Order it and go. Somebody may even deliver it to you.
Or just go out and buy groceries,
Yeah.
It's a little easier to pick it off the shelf,
Yeah, and have it delivered. Yeah, definitely a business model in that area.
All right, well, everybody, let's give a round of applause for Carl.
Radio. Please use available exits now.